Hello everyone and welcome to Moonride, where we're channeling the man in the moon. Look, in these transitional and difficult times, don't forget to take your victory lap. Remember that we defeated Donald Trump. You and I did that. We pulled out all the stops. We worked out really hard. We listened to a lot of people, compromised. We did what democracies do. And we got rid of certainly the worst president since Jackson. Could possibly be the worst president of all time. Remember, there was no trail of tears, right? So Trump could not go that far. Although he tried to ruin the Justice Department, there is still going to be justice. Don't forget that we did this, right? Don't focus totally on the negative. Focus on the positive. What came together? What happened? How did we change these things? That was a necessary evolution for all of us, right? So do take your victory lap, whatever that means. Have a bowl of ice cream. Go for a walk. Don't forget, we were successful. So one question one of my listeners has sent to me. Her name's Rosalind, and she asked this really good question, which is, how can we change these people's minds? Because they've just lost an election and they're still in denial of that. What can we do to change their minds? Let's see what Man in the Moon has to say. Well, I see a person holding a sword, and they're pointing to the White House, pointing to D.C., and the question for them is, will they go or not? And the answer is largely no. That while there are a good many people who are going to be, sort of activated by this, not that many of them are actually going to take up arms. Some may, but they will be minuscule in comparison to the numbers that are Trump supporters. So they will not go that far for the most part. The other thing that I can't help but thinking is those who live by the sword die by the sword. So notice that what Trump's going to do in the next couple of months, it's going to confront them with the truth. So it's literally going to be a question of life and death. Some of these people will be, put in the hospital. Some of these people will know people who are going to the hospital. Some of these people will start to realize that it's dangerous to get around people who never mask up. So there is a percentage, I'm getting like a 10%, 15% of people who really will change their minds because they have no other choice. They just are going to be confronted with it. So, Spirit, again, is there anything that we can do to change it? I'm kind of getting a no. Look, we will not be able to. You can't really persuade these, people. If they can accept that an election, which all judges have decided was free and fair, and that there's no merit to any of Trump's arguments, if they hear that and they still believe that Trump won, you're not going to convince them using any kind of facts. The universe will convince them. They will wind up in situations where they will be convinced. Do not spend too much time doing that, because it's not going to help you. It just agitates you and makes you more angry and takes you kind of further away from spirit. This doesn't mean you shouldn't be active. The last election proves that we all have to be very active and protect our society. Let's see. So, is there anything we can do? I'm getting a no. Look, it's almost like a no, don't bother. Like, we'll take care of this. What can you learn from this? That is the best thing that you can do. What can we learn from the fact that there's a bunch of people, no matter what, will never be convinced? Okay, they believe the earth to be flat. That is on them. There's just nothing you will be able to do to change their minds. But universe will change their minds. Stuff will happen. People will have to change because they have no choice. Right? Don't forget to do protective stuff these days. So I always use a pyramid. Look at any YouTube video on pyramids of protection. I did one a while back, but there are better ones, frankly, than mine. So do this. This will really help you from taking in all this dark energy that's unfortunately surrounding you, depending on where you live. So just have that in your imagination. You meet a Trump supporter, just smile and move on. They're not going to hear you if you say, hey, you're a loser, you lost. They're not going to listen to that. So just move on. It's not your problem. Be glad you're not that delusional. That's one way you might put it. And this is really part of our knowledge and learning. So learning how to live with people who are in complete denial. How can you still move forward even though there's a set of people like that? And in a sense, it's always been like this. There's always been a group of people who deny the truth. You might think of like Galileo or something like that. There will always be such people. How do you work around them? That's the question. And in some sense, if you leave them to their own devices, they will suffer on their own. It means that they don't get good jobs. It means that they don't function well in their lives. It means they become more disconnected from others. You must learn by that bad example how to become more connected to others, how to live a life that is more full, how to listen better to those who you could have a conversation with. I also noticed that sometimes even on the left I get the same shutdown. I don't want to talk about it. Anything you say is wrong because Trump believes that too. This does go both ways. So what can you learn? What can you gain from this? That should be your mantra every single day. What can I learn? What can I gain? How can I make a business out of this? How could I anticipate their mistakes and do the right thing for myself and those around me? There are ways to do that. I keep getting the pyramid. It's sort of a completion idea, right? So you might think of, wow, there's even a pyramid on the dollar bill, isn't there? If you think of that little bit at the top that's disconnected from the pyramid, the very top, in a way we're reconnecting those two things, and we're going to make this pyramid complete. You might even think that democracy was a question mark for 250 years. And it's always been a question mark, right? There's always been people who are denied rights. There's always been people who are denied the right to vote. So what does this mean now? It means we're still moving forward. We're still trying to complete this democracy. And that is totally appropriate in some ways. Okay, anything else that we could do? In a way, you might think of it as sharpening your own sword. Their sword will be, maybe invisible compared to the Trump defenders. Your sword is one of intelligence, light, understanding, awareness of your relationship to the universe. That's your sword, right? And that is what you're working on. It's just this ability to know when to speak, know when not to speak, the ability to anticipate what others who don't have your interest at heart are going to do, your ability to ask Spirit for help. These are all things that you can work on, which would be really, really, really effective as opposed to getting really upset about Trump supporters. And trust me, I'm the biggest hypocrite in the world. I can't stop myself sometimes, but I do have an energy that listens to Spirit and does move in that direction too. The more we can do that, the better. All right. Is there anything else we can do? Rest, meditate, keep your eyes open. When you see these things happen, do your best not to get too emotional about it. Then you're just becoming a Trump supporter. Get as factual as possible about it and assess it in a reasonable way, and understanding that anything you see on the media is really going to trigger you. That's its job, is to trigger you and keep you watching, right? So how can you evolve in that particular place? All of us can take steps towards our spiritual evolution. All right? Thanks so much for watching.